Shalom, Izzy here with Holy Language Institute at holylanguage.com. I wanted to take you on a whirlwind tour of one Hebrew word. We're going to look at how it was used in the Hebrew scriptures and some ways that it became this like really concrete word. And then we're going to look at how the meaning of the word got bigger over time until by the time of Yeshua of Nazareth and by the time the New Testament was written, it had this bigger meaning. And so let's look at this. Okay, so this is a passage from the Mishnah. It's the Jewish law that was written down in the mid to late 100s, and but much of it was developed earlier than that. And the Mishnah was written in, check it out, Hebrew. So if you've ever heard it said, well, Hebrew was a dead language in the time of Jesus, that's not true. The Mishnah was all developed in Hebrew, and it's actually a specific kind of Hebrew. It's not exactly like biblical Hebrew, and that's evidence that it was a living language, because that's how language works, you know. English is a living language. English was a living language 500 years ago, but living English today is different than living English 500 years ago. So, you know, when the Old Testament was written, Hebrew was a living language, and it was, you know, written, it was spoken and written a certain way. By the time the New Testament was written, Hebrew was still a living language. Except that it was a little bit different. It had more of an influx of Aramaic, some Aramaic words, and some things like that. So anyways, I love studying the Mishnah because it can help us to understand the New Testament better and the Jewish world of Jesus and his disciples. This is an example. This is one little one little instance from a tractate called Beitza, which means egg. I'm not going to get into why there's a tractate called egg, but I want to show you one specific thing here. It says they may not take back any portions with him unless he had authorized on their behalf. Now, this Hebrew word for authorized, here's how it's written in Hebrew. Zika. And you're like, oh no, Zika! That's like the Zika virus! This must be bad. No. Stop. Don't turn this off. You're not going to get infected with the Zika virus by watching this or by learning this Hebrew word, because English is different than Hebrew, so Zika in English might mean something different, right? Here, Zika, it has the sense of authorized. And now, I'm going to take you on a whirlwind tour of this verb, and how it was used in the Hebrew Bible, and then how it was used in the time of the New Testament. Okay, so the verb is zacha, and if you want, you can pause this and maybe poke around and look at some of these things in a more comprehensive way, but this is more just a little overview for you. Zacha. This is how it's used and translated in the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh. I did this for you. I got out eSword. I hit Control S, brought up the search bar, and then I searched Strong's number 2135, and the H there stands for Hebrew, because they're Hebrew Strong's numbers and they're Greek Strong numbers. Okay, so that's zacha, and this is how it's used. To be clean, to be pure. Here's a very closely related word, zachach, which has a similar meaning, and I searched that one for you also, and here is how it's used in the Hebrew Bible. Now what's interesting is there are a couple places where this word is used in very concrete ways. For instance, it's the word to cleanse your hands. Like for instance with lye, which of course is one of the foundational ingredients in making soap. So this is a picture of that word, washing your hands. Maybe suddenly that, if you've ever seen that Jewish ritual of hand washing, maybe suddenly you're like, oh, that's a very meaningful picture. And as you can see in this verse in Lamentations, it's also a word used to describe snow. Why? Because snow is clear. Because snow is transparent. It's something that's very clean and pure. And that's a picture of, it's a physical picture of spiritual cleanliness and purity. All right. Now, this is one of the cool things about Hebrew. You have this verb here, zechach. It also has the form zecha, and from that verb we get other words. For instance, the noun zechuchit. It's only used once in the book of Job, and it means glass. So here's another picture for you of being pure and clean. What's fascinating is that zechuchit, which is, zecha, it's clean and pure, it's also reflective. You can see through it, but it also reflects the light. Isn't that interesting that it allows the light in and it also reflects the light? Could that, it functions even, we could say, as a mirror. Could there be something there for us? When we live lives that are clean and pure, we allow the light to shine through us. And we're also function as mirrors in the world around us, and we reflect back to people the way they are, for better or worse. And that's why some people hate you if you're living a really clean life. Here's another fascinating thing about zechuchit, glass or crystal. Not only does it function as a mirror reflecting the light, it also functions as a prism refracting the light so that you can see the various colors of the light. That is zechuchit for you. Now, not only do we get a noun from this verb zacha, we also get an adjective, zach, which means to be clear, surprise, or pure. And here is how this adjective is used in the Hebrew Bible. It's used to describe clear olive oil or pure frankincense. So this olive oil is zach. Are you curious what this is? This is frankincense resin. I didn't even know this is how frankincense was made, to be honest with you, but it is. Isn't that fascinating? So olive oil and frankincense resin, in their purest form, they're very clear. They're translucent liquids. And again, there's a picture there in the Hebrew language and in the Hebrew Bible for when we allow our conduct and our speech to be clean and pure. And when we allow ourselves as people to be clear and transparent, to be selfless, to walk in the light. Powerful stuff. All right. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to show you the way this word, so that's how the word was used in the Hebrew Bible. Now I'm going to show you the meaning that this word came to have in the time of Yeshua and his disciples, and then in the Jewish world for a couple centuries after that. Firstly, there was a good Jewish name that came from this word, Zakai. Zakai. It's like a name that means, innocent, righteous, as you can see here. There's a famous Jewish sage named Yochanan ben Zakkai who escaped the destruction of Jerusalem in the Second Temple. So, Yochanan, this famous sage, his dad's name was Zakkai. Now, what's interesting is not only is this a good Jewish name, it also turns up in the pages of the New Testament. Of course, the context of the New Testament is mostly the Jewish world of Yeshua and his disciples, and then eventually it spread beyond that. So it's important to recognize that the guys who wrote the New Testament were Jewish, and if you really want to understand the New Testament, you do have to read it through Jewish eyes, because those guys had Jewish eyes. Now, this is a little example. You're like, sorry, what's that? That's not English. This is the Gospel of Luke, chapter 19. This is the Peshitta, which is the Aramaic New Testament. Eastern Christians read the Aramaic New Testament, and they actually believe that it's the original. Western Christians, of course, read the Greek New Testament, generally speaking. Or if you're really Western, you don't read the Greek New Testament, you read the English New Testament. But it's a translation of the Greek. What's interesting is I love looking at the Aramaic New Testament because it's closer to the original Jewish world of Yeshua. And maybe you're thinking Passion of the Christ, the Aramaic in that movie. So anyways, what's interesting is, sure enough, Zacchaeus, when you look at his name in the Aramaic New Testament, and indeed it's this good Jewish name Zakkai. So basically, Zacchaeus, the wee little man. Well, that wee little man, he actually had a good Jewish name, and it was Zakkai. And then we have the Greek version, which came over to us in the English version. So now Christians call him Zacchaeus, but originally it was Zakkai. One little example for you of, you have the original Jewish world of Jesus and his guys. And then a couple thousand years later, that's come to us through the Greek, to the English, and it's a little bit different sometimes. All right. Now, don't get scared. I'm not going to read all this stuff to you. This is a dictionary of Talmudic Hebrew. So this is Hebrew as it was used in Yeshua's time and then in the 500 years after Yeshua. And we looked at this word and how it was used in the Old Testament. This is how it was used in the times of the New Testament, roughly speaking. And you know what? I'm not going to look at all this with you. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of these pages, and then I'm going to sum it up for you. Okay? You no need to thank me. All right, so this is where the entry for Zechah begins, and then it goes on to the next page here, and then it goes on to this page here, and it finally ends there. And yeah, you can go back and you can pause those pages and you can read it all if you want. It's really fascinating. It gives lots of specific nuances of this word, and then it also gives instances from Jewish literature up until around the year 500 CE. Now, I'm just going to summarize that for you. I wrote it down. I'm going to summarize it for you, okay? By the time of Yeshua and then a couple hundred years after that, this word that originally meant clear and transparent, that meant clean and pure, it also had the sense of being worthy or deserving. I'm going to give you five senses here: of being worthy or deserving, of having the right or authority, of taking possession or gaining, of succeeding, and fifthly, this is a big one, a really interesting one, it had the sense of conferring benefit on the basis of your merit, conferring benefit to other people, transferring divine favor and blessing to other people on the basis of your merit, or exercising a protecting influence on the basis of your merit. And before you say, well, that sounds like works to me, sorry, by grace through faith alone, let's stop and think about this for a second. The city of Sodom. Okay, some people in Sodom died, but not everybody did. You know, Lot and his family, they were rescued through this angelic, special ops mission to get him out of there. Was it because Lot was such a good guy? No. Why did he experience God's protection on his life? Because of the merit, that's the word that we would use in the Jewish world, of Abraham and the prayers of Abraham. Now, this is actually a very scriptural concept. When you do what's right, when you live a life that's clean and pure, it's like, we would use the word merit in the Jewish world. But basically, it's like through other people are affected through your life. They're benefited through your life. When you practice righteousness, they experience the blessing of God on their own lives. They receive His favor in ways that maybe otherwise they wouldn't. They can even receive spiritual and physical protection because you are walking with God. That's a really powerful concept, and we see that in the book of Ezekiel also. God talks about looking for righteous people so that He could spare the city, looking for somebody to intercede so that his judgment could be forestalled. So this is very scriptural, and one of the things I love most about this Hebrew word, we looked at the verb. The verb is zachah. If you want to look at the noun for like your merit, so to speak, the Hebrew word for that is zechut. That's the Sephardic pronunciation. The Ashkenazi is zechus. So if you hear Jewish people talk about zechus, they're talking about merit. And often, if you hear talk about zechut, it's in reference to someone who lives a really righteous life, and it's like they develop this zechut. They develop this merit, and then through that merit, other people they experience they benefit from it, and they experience God's blessings and even His protection. And so in the Jewish community, you want to find those righteous people, and you want to stay in relationship with them, good relationship. You want to connect yourself to them, and then through them you will experience even more of God's blessings and favor. Now, whether or not you agree with that concept, I think you'll agree with this. If you believe in Yeshua the Messiah, then you believe that He is the greatest tzaddik ever. He is the most righteous individual who ever walked the planet. And you also believe that by the grace of God, through the finished work that He accomplished on the cross, through faith in Him and what He did, you basically experience that. Through Yeshua and His merit, you benefit. You experience God's blessings in your life. You receive His grace and favor. You even are the recipient of God's spiritual and physical protection upon you. And maybe that even extends beyond you to your family, to your community, to your neighborhood, to your city, maybe even to your country. Could it be? I believe so. And so it's really neat to look at this Hebrew word and how it's used originally in the Hebrew scriptures. Some of the ways it's concretely pictured through, snowflakes or washing your hands. Then it's really neat to see how it came to be used in in the time of Yeshua and the writing of the New Testament, how it was used in the Jewish world after that, and then also how that word is used today in Judaism, and to see how it gives us a better understanding of our relationship with Yeshua, our tzaddik, our righteous rabbi, and to see how we receive all of these wonderful things in our lives by grace through faith in the Messiah. So, anyways, it's like this huge topic. It's this big word. I'm trying to give you this whirlwind tour. Just hopefully you find that incredibly exciting. Just to have a new glimpse of your relationship with the Messiah and your relationship with God through Him, and what you experience. I love this stuff. I've dedicated my life to study, to coming closer to Yeshua by coming to know Him more closely. Through learning about the original Jewish context of the New Testament. I love Hebrew. I study Hebrew like every day. Read the Hebrew Bible, pray the old Jewish prayers in Hebrew, and then through that grow in my relationship with Yeshua, and basically, this is a personal passion of mine, and it became something of a life's calling, I guess you could say. Anyways, thanks for letting me share that with you. Like I said, I do this full time. If you want to learn more, come check us out at holylanguage.com. We're an online educational website and Messianic Jewish ministry. We're also a community with a focus on discipleship to Yeshua, learning more about the Jewish context of the Bible at holylanguage.com. So come say hi, come say shalom, and in the meantime, be encouraged today in your faith in the Messiah. And praise God today for His grace and how He has extended that to you through His righteous Son. And thanks again for joining me for this little talk.